Indian Air Force pilot Abhinandan Varthaman, who became the face of the latest Indo-Pak tension, has told the Indian Air Force that he wants to return to the cockpit as soon as possible. Varthaman is currently undergoing medical treatment at a military hospital in New Delhi. Military officials tending to Varthaman said that all efforts are being made to ensure that the wing commander can fly soon. Officials said that Varthaman has been in high spirits despite the harassment he suffered in Pakistan. And amidst tensions between India and Pakistan, British Prime Minister Theresa May had a telephone conversation with Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan. 10 Downing Street spokesperson said that Prime Minister May emphasized to Imran Khan the need for his government to act against terror. May told Imran Khan that Pakistan needs to take action against terror groups and support global efforts to combat terrorism. The British government has repeatedly called for de-escalation of tension between India and Pakistan following the Pulwama attack. In Jordan, volunteers from non-government organizations have joined forces to distribute aid at a Syrian refugee camp. At least 1,000 refugees were given blankets, food and hygiene kits. Speaker of the Kuwaiti National Assembly, Marzouk Al-Ghanim, also visited the camp to assist the charities. The children at the camp were given toys. Most of the Syrians in these Jordanian refugee camps rely completely on handouts from aid groups. War trophies, including a tank and piles of weapons that Russia claims were captured in Syria, rolled into Crimea over the weekend. It is also a part of a tour organized by the Russian military to whip up patriotic sentiment. The tour is titled Syrian Breakthrough and aims to show off hardware captured by the Russian military during its Syrian campaigns in support of President Bashar al-Assad's forces. The tour was launched in Moscow on February 23rd. The collection has already made it to 2 Crimean cities, Kerch and Sevastopol, and is to be displayed in dozens of cities across Russia. A large group of Central American migrants who U.S. authorities separated from their children last year have re-entered the United States. The migrants are now asking for refuge and wanted to be reunited with their kids. According to reports, some 50 people entered the United States at the international border, crossing from Mexico into Calexico in California. The migrants were met by agents from U.S. Customs and Border Patrol in a crackdown on illegal immigration. U.S. officials have separated thousands of children from migrant parents who crossed from Mexico into the United States. A gas line rupture just outside Mexico led to a major explosion. While the Missouri city was not evacuated, residents were told to stay away from the accident area. The gas supply to the pipeline was cut off to ensure the safety of the residents, and it took around 40 minutes for the fire to burn the remaining gas and extinguish itself. No casualty has been reported so far. Several Missouri residents shared videos of the fire on social media, where the fire can be seen turning the night sky orange. Algerian President Abdelaziz Bouteflika submitted his nomination papers for the elections due next month. State news agency APS published a declaration of his assets, which is one formal requirement for him to run in the April 18 presidential election. Bouteflika's nomination comes amidst mass protests against the 82-year-old extending his 20-year rule. In a letter addressed to the Algerians, Bouteflika said that if he is re-elected, then he will step down after a year. Bouteflika's announcement was read out on Algeria's national television. Meanwhile, thousands of protesters took to the streets of Algeria to demand President Abdelaziz Bouteflika to step down. Police reportedly used water cannons to disperse students rallying in Algiers. There were also demonstrations in France, which is home to a large Algerian community. Opponents of Bouteflika say that he is no longer fit to lead, citing his poor health and what they call chronic corruption. Critics have also highlighted Bouteflika's lack of economic reforms to tackle high unemployment that exceeds 25% among people under the age of 13. Franco Macri, the father of Argentine President Mauricio Macri, died at the age of 88 at his home in Buenos Aires. Macri, who had suffered health problems for years, was born in Italy before immigrating to Argentina and becoming an important businessman in the South American country. Macri ventured into different sectors, including car making, construction and services. Argentina's government did not provide details on Franco's death or arrangements for his funeral. British Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt said that a peace process in Yemen's main port city could be dead within weeks without more committed effort from both sides. The agreement to implement a troop withdrawal in the port city of Hodeida by January 7th was intended to clear the way for wider negotiations to end the 4-year war. But progress so far has been slow. Hodeida is a lifeline for millions of Yemenis facing famine. Families and friends of the passengers and crew from the missing Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 gathered in Kuala Lumpur to commemorate their loved ones on a 5th anniversary of the plane's disappearance. Wreckage, confirmed to be from flight MH370, was displayed at the remembrance event. Attendees lit candles to remember those who lost their lives and signed messages of support. The Boeing 777 aircraft was on its way from the Malaysian capital to Beijing on March 8, 2014, when it inexplicably veered off course and disappeared. The 3-member crew aboard the International Space Station welcomed SpaceX's unmanned Crew Dragon capsule that docked at the orbital outpost on Sunday. NASA astronaut Anne McClain, David St. Jacques of the Canadian Space Agency, and Russian cosmonaut and Expedition 58 Commander Oleg Kononenko opened the hatch between the Crew Dragon and the space station. During its 5-day stay, U.S. astronaut Anne McClain, along with St. Jacques, will run tests and inspect Crew Dragon's cabin. China's top political advisory body started its annual session in Beijing, raising the curtain of a key season in the country's political calendar. Xi Jinping, General Secretary of the Communist Party of China Central Committee, and other Chinese leaders attended the opening meeting at the Great Hall of the People. Wang Yang, chairman of the 13th Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference National Committee, delivered a work report to more than 2,000 political advisors at the session. Wang commended the work done by the political advisory body last year. For the first time ever, the Chinese media has put into use a special robot assistant to help reporters cover the country's annual 2 sessions. The 2 sessions refer to the 2nd session of the 13th National People's Congress, the 13th National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference. Xiaodo, the AI-powered customized robot, has spent a lot of time acquiring knowledge about the 2 sessions. Xiaodo is built by search engine giant Baidu. It can predict the hot topics of upcoming press conferences by analyzing relevant articles and comments online. The Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities announced that a project to reduce the level of groundwater at the world-famous catacombs of Komel Shokhafa has been completed. The archaeological site in Alexandria had suffered from rising water levels since its discovery in 1892. The lower third level of the site had completely submerged. Starting November 2017, a series of wells and pumps were installed, allowing water levels to recede inside the attraction. Now, for the first time, visitors can reach the 3rd level of the tomb. China's central Henan Province said that the 6 South China tiger cubs born in January are in good health and growing stronger at the Luoyang City Zoo. The 6 cubs, 3 male and 3 female, were born to 2 mothers on January 10th and 11th at the Wangcheng Park Zoo in Luoyang. This case was considered extremely rare, given multiple births of an endangered species in 2 days in a single zoo. The cubs have since been taken care of by zookeepers who feed the cubs 6 times a day. Authorities said that the Cubs will meet the public in about a month's time. The small Spanish town of Laza held its annual carnival over the weekend, with local residents dressing in exquisite costumes to run through the streets in an ancient tradition. The carnival is known locally as Entroido, and it is one of the focal points around which the 900-odd residents of Laza organize their lives. The kings of the carnival are the Pelicueros, whose clothing includes an ornate headdress with pom-poms, a mask and a short, colourful jacket. Though the exact origin of the carnival were unknown, the rituals are a mix of pagan, Roman and Greek traditions. Revelers filled the streets of Portugal's Torres Vedras for the country's most famous carnival. There were satirical floats featuring world leaders like US President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Some revelers dressed as bottles of vintage port, while others promoted Portugal's star Cristiano Ronaldo. Some men dressed up as women in accordance with the tradition set up in 1926. In fact, both the king and the queen of the Torres Vedras carnival were men. North Italian city of Ivrea kicked off its carnival season with the annual Battle of the Oranges. Revelers were seen taking aim at each other in a time-honoured fruit-throwing fight that left the streets covered in a thick carpet of mashed orange pulp. The origin of the fruit fight dates back to medieval times. Residents say the history of citrus clash attracts thousands of people every year. Every year, some 500 tons of oranges are shipped from Sicily to the Piedmont region in order to provide weapons to the fruit-flinging warriors. Thousands of revelers dressed in colourful costumes kicked off 3 days of festivities in the French northern port city of Dunkirk. The celebration is France's oldest and maddest annual carnival. An estimated crowd of 40,000 people packed the square facing the town hall for the annual herring throwing tradition. From the balcony of the former Belfry, Mayor Patrice Vegriete and his guests threw about 450 kilogram worth of herring as carnival goers chanted and lunged for a piece of the earliest recording of the Dunkirk carnival dates back to 1676.